But first, if there was any doubt about the weaknesses in our border protection policy, new information about how almost 40 asylum seekers managed to evade detection and make it to the mainland last week should send alarm bells ringing. Last night, Sharri Markson revealed that Border Force knew of the asylum seekers' arrival north of Broome in WA well before it was made public on Friday.
There was widespread knowledge of the illegal arrivals among Defence personnel. A source contacted me about the illegal boat arrival on Thursday evening, saying, and I quote, "I'm led to believe that illegal boats are arriving and the Army is involved in managing it and keeping it quiet."
And now the full scale of just how exposed we are has been laid bare. Paige Taylor in The Australian is reporting the 39 men probably reached the beach at midnight on Monday, and the crew were no dummies. They knew the way to get a big vessel close to shore was to do it in 2 days after a new moon on the biggest tide. One group walked south on the sand, another went into the bush. How do we know this? Because traditional owners of the Dampier Peninsula figured it out before Border Force had a chance to interrogate the men about their journey. So let me get this right. The boat could have arrived on Monday, and yet on Friday, 4 days later, this is all the PM could offer up.
I've been travelling in the car, so I haven't been advised about that.
Asleep on the wheel on this issue and apparently asleep in his car. The Aboriginal people even found a campsite too, which appears to support what Border Force later learned from the men. The people's smugglers instructed their clients to wait in the bush for 4 days before seeking help. This was intended to give the smugglers time to leave Australian waters. Oh, and it gets even more farcical. A senior Indigenous man used an inexpensive drone to alert ABF to both the asylum seeker boat landing site and the campsite used by the arrivals. Seriously, this is extraordinary. An Indigenous man using a drone bought from JB Hi-Fi, would you believe it, actually alerted Border Force. Looking for a job? Become an amateur sleuth. Go on the hunt for boats. Just whip out your drone. I mean, seriously. How on earth did Operation Sovereign Borders miss them? We now know quite clearly that people smugglers know how to get around the gaping holes in our border security. As I said on my show on Friday night, when this news first broke, Australia is open for business, so far as the people smugglers are concerned. It's green lights for them everywhere. Let's look at the key facts. More than 32,000 asylum seekers have arrived since Labor was elected. More than 62 people claimed asylum in Australia every day last year under Labor, an increase of 70% on the previous year. And yet, according to ABF figures, there's been a 20.7% decrease in aerial flying hours and 12.2% fall in maritime patrol days in 2022 to 23, compared with aerial and maritime surveillance hours logged in 2020 to 21. No wonder 39 men managed to arrive undetected north of Broome last week, and 12 arrived at the remote Aboriginal community of Kalambaroo along the Kimberley coastline in November. The PM's response today? Blame Peter Dutton.
When Peter Dutton said that people smugglers listen to what the government says, they also listen to what the bloke who wants to be the alternative Prime Minister of Australia says. And in his irresponsible comments, they can be seen as nothing other than encouraging this activity. And he needs to be held accountable for that.
I mean, seriously, how embarrassing. This is not a game. Stop playing politics and take some action. We should be scared that the ghosts of the Rudd-Gillard era are circling this government. Yet here we are in 2024 with a PM completely in denial. And I mean, how can we even pretend to be surprised here? Who could forget this chronic case of Albo not being across his brief in the lead up to the 2022 election? Talk about contradicting yourself.
Do you remain committed to Operation Sovereign Borders, and if so, do you support the retention of temporary protection visas?
Yes.
We don't support temporary protection visas.
Does he really think that's the kind of messaging that's going to see people smugglers give us a wide berth? I don't think so. The government needs to come clean on what it is doing to maintain our border security, because if we don't even know when an asylum seeker boat reaches our shores or when criminals are released from immigration detention, how could we possibly be capable of defending ourselves from attack?